Hi, welcome to another episode. Not yet. Hi, welcome to another episode of Bethany Talks About Stuff. I'm your host, Bethany F. DeVores, the author of the Sea Dressing Chronicles, available from Amazon. And in this episode, I have my friend Damon Sawyer here. Say hello. See,
Hello.
now it's time to say hello.
Okay.
All right. And Damon is here, and we're going to talk about our top 4 or 5 video games that are either unpopular or unknown. Damon is a deacon at our church, and he and his wife are good friends with me, and we are 2 of the nerdiest people you'll ever meet. A few months ago, 4 of us that volunteer with the youth went to a youth leadership training. We rode together all in the same car, the 4 of us, and it was the nerdiest 4 hours you've ever heard in your life. I think we talked about video games the entire way up.
Pretty close.
Yeah, like for 4 hours. It was so fun. So, Damon, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
So I work in IT, so I am a computer nerd. Play video games most of my life. Starting out with the Atari 2600. That's how far back I go.
Sweet.
Working that way through to the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, and lately I've been converted to a PC gamer. So
David and I have wanted to get together and do a show together for a while, but we really struggled for a topic, and it just hit me one day that we probably like some video games that people have either never heard of or aren't really considered very popular. So we came up with our list, and as I always do, I'm going to let Damon go first because he's my guest. And I've asked Damon to tell me what platform he used to play the game and just a little bit about the game. So did you say you're going to go in chronological order or order of least favorite to favorite?
least favorite.
Okay, I'm going to do least favorite to favorite too. So take it away with your list.
As you can see from my shirt, I am, like I said, an old school gamer. 3 out of my 4 games on my list are NES games. The first one is, I don't know how many people have heard of it, it's called Gyruss. It's a flight shooter, space. The weird thing about it is it's not side-scrolling like most NES games were at the time. It's actually, you go around a circle. You can't move forward or backwards. You can only move around the circle. And so the enemies are coming down you almost like down a corridor. But then every once in a while, they come at you from the side of the screen. So
I have never heard of this game.
Yes.
Do you know when that came out?
Yes, 1983.
Oh, you did so good. I do not have the years on
Yes.
any of my games.
But I didn't play it till the late 80s because I didn't get a Nintendo until like 9th grade. So yeah, I've been like
Really?
88, 89 because
That kind of surprises me.
I had to,
actually.
everything we had, I was the youngest of 5, so anything we had to save up money for and buy ourselves.
Sure, yeah.
And, the Nintendo, when it first came out, was not cheap. So,
I didn't have one right away either.
and I want to say this was one of those like $10 budget games that's why nobody really played it. So that's why I got it cheap. But it was like a typical Nintendo game. It was very, very difficult. Like I said, you could only go in a circle. You could either go left or right.
Some of those old school
around the
games
circle.
were really hard. Like
And so
that's something that that's a whole different discussion, like a whole
Right.
different
Yes.
episode. But yeah.
But the thing I think one that caught me about it the most is being an 8-bit Nintendo game. It had very limited music. It had like 3 tracks. But the track on the very first level, the beginning game of the very first level, is an 8-bit version of Toccata and Fugue in D minor.
Awesome.
So that was like, it caught me right off the bat. Yeah, that was like one of the best. I know Bethany said it before on Silver, but it's very important. Music is very important to me too in my games. If it doesn't have good music,
why bother?
Yeah. So you start out in like outside the solar system, and you have to work your way towards Earth. Basically, is what you're trying to do. An alien invasion. But if you do manage to get all through all the levels, the game just starts over again.
I ain't mad at that either.
There's no ending. It just keeps going.
Just a loop.
Yep.
Eternal loop.
It gets harder. The enemies get faster.
Right.
Kind
of like that.
And it was actually a Konami game, so the Konami code works for it to get extra lives, but it's backwards.
Oh, good to know if you're going to go out and get a Nintendo and find this game.
That's the first game on my list. The second one is the only PS1 game on here, and I don't know how many people are familiar with it or not. It's not necessarily that people didn't like it, I just don't know how popular it was, but it was called Brave Fencer Musashi. It was actually put up by Squaresoft before they became Square Enix. Back when late 90s. and it was almost a Metroidvania, if you know what that is, where you have to go around and find hidden things, get power ups, all that kind of thing.
Oh,
Kind of
okay.
like if you ever played Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
I haven't played any of the
But
Castlevania
so it's
games,
so
but
it's a
I'm
so it's an adventure
familiar.
game with role playing elements. The biggest thing about this game that caught me, granted, it had good music, had platforming elements, but like I said, role playing elements too. Was the story was very lighthearted. The humor. Um, the main character is someone he's supposedly the reincarnation of this great hero that was in the past, but he's a little kid. I mean, they say like when he first shows up, he's like, isn't he kind of short? And he's of course he's short with an attitude.
Well,
So just
that
just
sounds
to just
right.
to give you a hint of it, the kingdom he's coming to save is the all you can eat empire, and they're being or kingdom, and they're being invaded by the thirst quencher empire. So all the people on the good side have food names, and all the people on the bad side have beverage names.
Fair enough.
So
Fair
it's
enough.
a very it was one it was a and fully 3D polygonal 3D. So it was one of the early games for that for the PlayStation. Um, and had a day and night cycle, which is not common.
Oh yeah, not back then.
Even had a fatigue meter where if you ran around too much and didn't replenish it, you would actually fall asleep in the middle of the battlefield.
I love
You
that.
had two weapons. You had a little katana and you had a big broadsword. The little katana you could actually throw into enemies and gain their abilities. So that's
Nice.
how you had. And a lot of times you had to do that to progress in the game.
Hmm.
Um, so it was a very fun game, very humorous, but at the same time also very challenging. It even had a like this is like I said late nineties. It had a rhythm game built into it at one point. Timed escaped out of a
Oh wow,
dungeon.
really?
Yeah, so it was really, really kind of forward for its time. My number two is Zelda II on the Nintendo.
That's our first and so far only crossover
Yes,
because that's on my list too.
yes,
And it might, I thought about that. Like, it might actually be more popular than we realize. It's just
right.
old, and a lot of people didn't play it as
Well,
much.
and yeah, I know when it first came out, it was very unpopular. People were like, "Hey, this is too different from the original." You had a top down overworld, but on you're fighting with a side scroller. That's fine. But once again it took the first one, but then it had role playing elements. You actually leveled up.
Yep.
There was no money in the game, so you couldn't buy anything. I think it's one of the only ones that doesn't have.
It didn't have any money?
No, there's no, you don't buy anything in the game. You have to find everything.
Huh.
So
I
I
just,
forgot
it's
I'd
been a
forgotten
long
about
time
that.
since I played it.
I'd forgotten about that until I was doing a little bit of research yesterday, and then the final boss is not Ganon.
Who was it? I remember that it wasn't
It was
Ganon.
a shadow of
It was
yourself.
Shadow Link.
Shadow
That's
Link.
right. That's
Yes,
right.
you
It
beat
was
Ganon. You
hard.
beat yes. It was very because he had all the abilities you did. In fact, he would also a lot of times mirror what you were doing, so it made it
Mm-hmm.
very hard.
It was hard.
And I think that might be another reason why a lot of people didn't like it because it was very hard at
Yeah,
times.
Zelda 2 was very challenging. I loved that game and I played it, but I do remember it being really, really hard. That's
Yes.
back in the day when I used to actually find stuff on my own.
Yes,
Like,
there were on the overworld map. There were places that you just had to kind of bump into it, and then
mm-hmm.
eventually you pop. Oh, look.
You just like drag around and you're like, this looks a little different. I bet
Hmm.
there's something there.
Yeah,
And then you would just like,
there'd be like a couple pixels off, and
yeah, and you would just have to go
right.
all the way over there and try it and see if it worked or if there was really something
But
there.
I really liked the side scrolling aspect. It made it more challenging. It had the same enemies, but of course they were more detailed because it was a newer game.
Right. So the
Um,
graphics were a little bit better
yeah,
than the
it was still on the
original.
original Nintendo, so it wasn't
Right.
super great. But it had towns where you could go and talk to people.
Remember I Am Error?
Yes, yes. There's a
Do we even know to this day if that was truly an error or if they did that on purpose? But yeah, and that was the part I liked so much about Zelda 2. That was the first game where I felt like you actually had interaction with people,
yeah,
like with
they would give you
NPCs.
hints
Yeah, yeah,
of
you
where
had to talk to people in
yes,
order to progress and get more information, or else you'd get stuck.
yes,
So I loved that. And then I would go back and talk to him again, like, do you have any more lines? Like,
yeah.
I just wanted to
Yeah,
talk.
that's one of the things I do even in role playing games now. I was like, how many times do I talk to this person and
Yeah,
get new
they can tell me
dialogue?
something different
Yeah,
now. Yeah, that was a great game.
right.
That was awesome.
Um, and then my top game that one of the games I played I don't know how many times was also a Nintendo game, original Nintendo game. It's Castlevania 2. I
Mm.
might be seeing a trend here.
I
Um,
am seeing a trend.
so it was a departure from the original. The first Castlevania was just going through the levels, attacking things. Might find a little secret here that's got a health power up or something. This one actually had once again had role playing elements.
Right.
I think it was the first game I played that had a day and night cycle, and it was a very annoying day and night cycle because every 5 or 6 minutes in game time, in real time, you'd get a message very slowly across the screen, letter by letter, going dee 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 as it would come across. What a horrible night for a curse! Then it would turn into nighttime.
Did the gameplay stop when that happened?
Yes, the game froze when the message was coming up, so you had to wait for that to clear before you could do
You
anything.
like,
And then also, so at nighttime, enemies were harder.
what makes sense
Um,
in a Castlevania
yeah,
game?
they were sometimes they were faster, sometimes they were totally different enemies. And then it had towns that you could interact with people in, but at nighttime, if you go into the towns, there was no people, there was zombies,
I was gonna say, I bet there were
and
zombies.
you couldn't go into any of the buildings.
That,
So it definitely you
yeah.
have to. But yeah, so it takes place after 7 years after the first one. Apparently, when you defeat Dracula, it's the same protagonist. When you kill Dracula the first time, he cursed you, and so now you have to go around and find his body parts
Ew.
so you can resurrect him and kill him again. Well, actually, you end up burning the body parts, and then he resurrects. And so another thing that was so you could level up your whip. You had different whips you could get buy. You had money. So there was 3 endings to the game,
Oh.
multiple endings,
Oh, okay.
depending on how long it took you in game, how many day and night cycles it took you to beat the game. So the bad ending, neither you nor Dracula survived the battle.
Oh, bummer.
The normal ending, you beat Dracula, but then you succumb to the curse.
Still a bummer.
But the best ending, if you beat the game in 7 days or less, you would beat Dracula and then be free of the curse and go carry on. So that was very, very interesting. And then there was a lot of the reasons why people didn't like the game. It was very once again you had townspeople you had to talk to get hints.
Hmm.
And there's a very famous. In fact, it became a meme. It was an area called Deborah's Cliff, and all you get told is take a red soul here and wait. So basically, you would get to this one area. There's just a wall there, and you had to go past there to get to the next area of the game. Well, what it didn't explain was you had to equip this red crystal. That
Hmm.
was the red soul, and then kneel down and stay kneel down for about 5 seconds. Then a magic tornado would appear and whisk you and come across the screen and whisk you to the next area.
These games that do stuff like that, I'm like that. And back in the day, like you said, you couldn't just go find a YouTube video. You literally had just to
Yes.
tough it out and figure out, unless you
So
knew
so
somebody.
so, and I just when I was looking at it yesterday, I found out this is actually a translation error. The
Oh.
original Japanese it says show or present the red crystal at Deborah's Cliff and wait for the wind. But in
Oh.
English we got wait for a soul with the red crystal on Deborah Cliff. Still didn't tell you that you had to kneel down with it.
Right.
But I mean, this game, I played it. I don't know how many times. It was also very unforgiving as far as platforming because the
Yeah.
jumps were kind of clunky. If you didn't hit the jump button to try that, you would go into the water, and if you fell in the water, you died. Um,
Like John Marston in Red Dead Redemption,
yes. Um,
which always annoyed
but
me.
this game, that's what I love. And this is another game, like I said, the music especially in this game, I love so much. In fact, the main theme of the game is my ringtone.
Oh, even
Yes.
now, huh?
Yes.
Oh, that's
It's
cool.
a track it's called Bloody Tears.
Yeah.
So that is my list.
Okay. Well, you have a good list.
Okay.
I only knew one of them, though.
Yes.
I knew of Castlevania too.
Yes.
I just, it was not a thing I played. So I just want to show everybody, like Damon's got notes. Like this is a nice, organized, prepared person.
But that's also my personality. So
Here's my list on the Golden Girls notebook, and the fifth one was added this morning that I thought of while I was in the shower.
but like I said, once again, the research was done primarily because these are games I haven't played for 30 years.
Okay, so here's my list, and I'm going to do my least favorite to most favorite, but I like all of these games, obviously. My number 5 game is a game called Lemmings. Have you ever heard of it?
Yes, I've played Lemmings.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Lemmings was a game that I think was on one of my first PCs. It was an old Windows PC, and I think the game I think I bought it from like a Walmart, like
Yeah, it was probably like
$5 rack
$5.
or
Yes.
something. And it was just like one of these, it was really a puzzle game, but it would drop these little purple lemmings in their little purple outfits, and they would just walk and never stop walking no matter what. So they would literally, like a lemming, run right off a
Mhm.
cliff and die. So you had to build things to make them turn the other direction or build stairs for them to go up and over things. And so it was really a puzzle game to get the lemmings where you wanted them to go. I
Right.
spent so many hours on that. And they were like levels, they got
Yeah.
harder
I think
and
I think we had a teacher in high school that had a PC in her room. She would let us play games on it, and she had Lemmings on there.
Lemmings was awesome. But it was and it got hard.
Hmm.
Like it and then they would go faster,
Hmm.
there'd be lava, like but it was fun. It was a fun game and I'm surprised. I'm glad somebody else has actually heard of
Yes.
it. But yeah, like it was like one of those $5 games. But I got so many hours of gameplay out of that. It was fun. So number 4, I've mentioned on this channel before, it's a game called Redneck Rampage.
Yeehaw!
So I actually mentioned it as one of the worst games on my like when Sage and I did our favorite
I
video
want to say
games.
that's where I heard it from. I was watching that video.
Well, it is like one of the worst games, but it's also one of my favorite games. Like it's an unpopular opinion because if that game were made today, it would never
No, it would
pass
it would get
this.
shut
Like
down. Wouldn't
it would get canceled
probably
so
not even
early.
get off the floor.
Probably not. It would be considered so offensive now, but it was so stupid. It was awesome. It was I played that game multiple times. But you're basically a redneck out in the country, and the the Earth was being invaded by aliens, and you had to fight the aliens.
Screw with the bull, you get the horn.
It was so stupid. Like there were in order to get your health regenerated, you had to eat like moon pies. Yeah, like tough. You can get different weapons. Of course, at some point you get like a double barrel
Yeah,
shotgun and
the staple of first person shooters.
yeah, yes. Well, obviously. It was a lot of fun, but man, was it offensive. And when I did this before, when I talked about it before and I tried to find a clip, I had trouble finding one that didn't have a curse word in it. I forgot how much cussing was in that game. My number 3 is Civilization Revolution.
Our people await your orders.
Everybody's heard of Civilization, but there was a much smaller game. Civilization is a pretty big game, even the old one. Like I
Mhm.
played it on Civilization and Civilization 2. I played on PC, and I think
Mhm.
you could only play it on PC.
Yeah,
Um,
I played in that same teacher's classroom. Yeah,
yeah,
that was our gaming classroom.
gotcha. Well, I loved those games, which is very weird for me because it's not my normal type
Mhm.
of game. But I did like those games. Well, a few years ago, it was an Xbox 360 game, Civilization Revolution, and it was one of the, you know how Xbox would give you like a free game a month or whatever with
Mhm.
gold membership. And I had gold membership, and that was one of the free games. So I downloaded it and it became just one of my favorite games. Now, everybody I've talked to that doesn't know about this game, they're like, really? At least get the real Civilization and play it. Like I like it because I could play like a fast version of that game. So for a while, every Sunday,
Mhm.
I would come home from church, heat up some leftovers for lunch, sit down and play a game of Civilization Revolution, and I would finish it just in time to go to choir practice. And so that became one of my favorite games because it was quick and easy. There was a beginning and end, and I just kept like increasing the difficulty.
Yeah, because if I remember the regular Civilization, it really didn't have an end. It just kept going.
Well, you could beat it.
At least I never did.
You could beat it like if you conquered all the other
Oh, I got
civilizations.
you.
And I believe even in the earliest ones. Now I could be wrong about this, but if I remember right, you could still kind of beat it by beating the space race, which in Civilization Revolution is also a way to beat the game is to complete the
Like
um
saying, concerned, I was playing it in 30-minute chunks, at lunchtime.
yeah,
So
yeah. Well, if you're playing it in 30-minute chunks at lunchtime, it probably did feel like it went
yes.
on and on and on. Yeah, but I would sit and play it for hours until I finished it. But Civilization Revolution didn't didn't take as long. So that's my number 3. My number 2 was Legend of Zelda 2, or I think it's actually like The Adventures of Link is the actual name of it. But we've already talked
Yes.
about it. But my number 1 is the one that is got people divided. and it's Fable 3.
The uprising has begun. But who will lead the revolution?
I played on Xbox 360.
I didn't play the previous two, but I think I played Fable 3.
Yeah, Fable, I didn't play the first two. Fable 3 was my first introduction to the Fable series, and there are only the three of them right now. They're working on a new one.
Yeah,
but
I've heard rumors and I don't know how far it's got.
I've seen the trailer for it, and it's not appealing to me. I just gotta be honest. It just doesn't look very good. But Fable fans did not like 3. So I didn't play the other two. So Fable 3 was the first introduction I had, and I loved that game. I mean, I loved that game. Even now, every once in a while, I'll be like, let me start another Fable 3 game. The main character is a prince or princess, you can choose.
Right.
And they're also a hero. So they have special powers and abilities.
It bloody works! You really are a hero!
And they're on a quest to save Albion from their evil older brother who's ruling, but he's a tyrant. And then you find out later he was a tyrant because of an evil that's coming to the land. And so then eventually you have to save Albion from that dark evil that's coming. I don't want to I guess spoilers. I mean, it's old. All of these are so old.
Yes.
But it turns out there's like a big black evil monster.
Where are you? Show yourself!
The lost sheep returns to the flock. No one ever leaves the darkness behind.
I'm not sure that I ever finished it, so I don't know if I ever got.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it is worth doing. But I will tell you, the thing is, you can end it two ways, basically.
Yes.
One, I mean, you could lose. So I guess there's a third way. But there are two ways. You could either go back on all these promises you made to people and still defeat the darkness, or you could keep all your promises, but you won't have enough money to raise enough army to save all your people.
Mhm. I do remember there was a good and evil.
Yeah, so if you went back on your
Aspect to it.
promises, you might have enough money to keep everybody alive, but you become a real tyrant as well. Like
Because
you've
didn't-
turned
didn't-
into your brother.
Didn't even your character, the look of your character changed if you did evil
Yes.
things? Yeah.
You are Albion's champion, its protector. This coming battle is the reason you had to take Logan's place. Only you can defeat the creature that dwells in the shadows. If you do not, all your efforts will have been in vain. Now go. Do what you were born to do.
Yes.
Yeah. And so the crux, though, what made it hard was you had to raise money. And so you could raise money several different ways. When the way I did it was always that I would buy tons of businesses. Now, you could buy like houses and rent them out, but they would deteriorate and you would always have to go and repair them over and over.
Yeah.
So like you would still make money, but it would take longer to make money. So I got to where if I were going to go start today a new game, I would not buy any land other than someplace for my person to live. And then,
Yes, because you could get a spouse and have children.
but you had to have a place to live
Yes.
in order to get married and have kids. I had so many illegitimate children. It was really crazy. At one point, I had a spouse in every different town too. Stuff I would never think was okay in real life in video game world.
Well, that's what video games are for. And if I remember correctly, was John Cleese the narrator?
He was the
the
butler or whatever.
I remember him voicing somebody in the game.
I played Jasper, who is the butler.
The bottom half of your chicken suit has arrived, and I've prepared it for you. Yes, this is exactly the sort of future I imagined for myself when I got into butling.
John Cleese did that, and oh gosh, what is his name?
In Fable 3, I play Sabine.
Do you like what your brother has done to us?
The character I play in Fable 3 is Logan, who is the king of Albion.
This is my Albion. Its people will do as I say, or they will die.
In Fable 3, I play a character called Elliot, who's the female hero's kind of love interest.
I play a character called Sir Walter Beck, who's the kind of typical right-hand man of the monarch.
In Fable 3, I am playing the part of Ben Finn,
who is a sort of rapscallion, soldier come adventurer.
Ow! It's like being hit by a frozen sock!
That was a game that I genuinely got emotional when Walter died. I was like, what?
I don't think I can fight anymore.
It's all over, Walter. We won. We beat it together.
Do you remember the stories I tell you when you were a child? There was a great king once, the mightiest hero of them all. Remember what you would say?
Teach me to be a hero.
You've done me proud, boy. You've always done me proud.
That was my favorite. That was Fable 3. So, yeah, that was my list. Like, look at the difference between the games that we liked then versus what we like now. Like, I do think that gaming has lost a little something with the complete availability of every aspect of the game on, say, YouTube. And I've posted some gameplay. In fact, recently I posted a whole like arc because it's kind of fun to watch, especially if you're not going to play that game. It's kind of fun to see the stuff. But talking about how we had to just figure stuff out.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The hand holding is almost too much now.
And I'll admit, like I've gotten a little lazy.
Yes,
like
I have
I
too.
have gotten lazy, and I will just go. I don't feel like trying to figure this out. I'm just gonna find a
And,
tutorial.
and that's what I'm trying to with Baldur's Gate. I'm trying to not do
it.
that. Yeah,
Mhm.
because I've noticed I am enjoying games less when I do that because
Yeah.
I'm not figuring it out on my own.
Yeah. So when I went back and played recently Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood,
Mhm.
and Revelation, yes, there are tutorials and stuff for certain areas, but you still just have to do it.
Mhm.
So like those timed puzzles
Yes.
that were so hard, you can know how to do it, but you still have to be able to do it.
Right.
And so it was difficult for me because I've gotten so lazy.
Mhm.
But when I finished it, there was so much more of a sense of accomplishment with that than I feel with a lot of modern games because I just could go, oh, I'll just go look it up.
Well, like I said, a lot of them not even have to look it up. A lot of them just the hand holding in the game itself,
True. Yeah. I think some games have kind of gotten dumbed
where
down.
they just say, "Go here and do this."
That's a big discussion right now in the gaming industry is how some gamers are complaining because games are too hard, but other gamers like us are like, it's a little too much hand holding. Like, I don't need you to spell everything out for me. But then there are some games that go to the other end of the spectrum and make
Where-
it so hard, I can't
Yeah.
figure it out. Like, Kingdom Come Deliverance, shame on you. Like, that game, I just gave up. I'm like, forget it. Like, I am pretty tenacious. And
Mhm.
even I was like, this is not even fun. I like it when the game gives you some options. So now when I play a game, I look for the developer's recommended levels for everything. So if
Right.
they say this is what's recommended, it's like when I played both Origins, well, not just both, but when I played Assassin's Creed Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, I
Mhm.
picked any of the options that said this is the developer's recommended because I'm
Right.
like, that's the game they intended for you to play.
Right.
And if it's too hard, okay, I'll reconsider. Maybe I'll dumb it down. But I actually regret playing Witcher 3 on the easiest level the first time. Like I regret that. I wish I'd played it on the normal level and just toughed it out. The same thing with Cyberpunk 2077. I started on the easy level
Mhm.
because I was so kind of out of shape with that kind of first person shooter. And I was struggling, so I played it on easy, and I regret that too. And now I won't play it on anything but hard.
And I had kind of the opposite thing. I was reading an article this morning about Baldur's Gate 3, and this guy saying he loved the narrative part of the game, but he didn't like the battles. He got tired of having to reload his battles because he kept dying. Then play on the easier difficulty.
Yeah, just lower the difficulty. But I'm like,
I mean, they made a point. They have a tactician difficulty, which is if you want a real challenge. They have the balanced, which is normal.
normal.
And then they have a storytelling mode, which makes the battles easier. So if you don't like a game, don't like it because it's too hard, put it on hard.
Which is how I played Witcher 3. The first time I
Right.
played it, well, first of all, the first time I played it, I stopped and didn't pick it up again for like another year. But then when I start playing it the second time, I'm like, well, let me just do the basically story mode. So the combat was supposed to be a lot easier. By the way, I still died a lot.
Yeah.
So even their easy was a little hard. But I feel like you should have to fail sometimes.
Yes.
So like I have that one video of me in Origins just dying over and over and over. Do you know why I did that?
Mhm.
First of all, I didn't realize I was still recording. So for like an hour I was recording and I didn't know I was recording and I just died and died and died and died. but that actually was one level higher than where I was.
Mm.
And I am of the mind that every now and then I'll go, I can do it. I'm just gonna tough it out. And sometimes I can,
Right.
and then you level up faster, you get more experience
Right.
points and you get better loot and stuff. So I'm like, it's just this one fort. I could do it. I'm gonna do it. No, no. Origins said no.
And yeah, and there's a streamer I watch that he always plays games on the hardest difficulty because he enjoys the challenge.
The
And
challenge
he
is
may it may
good.
take him 30, 45 minutes to get through this one section, but he says when he does get past it, he feels a sense of accomplishment.
It is a sense of accomplishment. It's just, I think that's
And I don't know how many
something that's
times
getting
I've
lost.
seen where in the comments, well, why doesn't he just lower the difficulty? Well, if he wants the challenge, it'd be different if he didn't like the
Yeah,
challenge,
yeah.
but he wants the challenge.
And
So,
I
heaven
see,
forbid someone play the game they like the way they want to play it.
right. It's my gameplay
Yes.
experience, but I think that there has been lately, I've seen a couple of videos, I've seen a couple of commentators that I like talking about this too, about people calling for all games to have an easy mode. And I just think that's a huge mistake.
Yes.
I think it's a
I
huge
agree.
mistake. They're like, well, we just don't have time. I just don't have time to play and invest the effort into learning how to play this game, but I still want to be able to play the game. Well, too bad. I mean, I'm not trying to sound mean,
Yeah.
but if you dumb down every game, there's never going to be a sense of accomplishment again. Plus, some games just do not lend themselves to an easy mode. Witcher 3.
Yes.
Like I said, the story mode, I still died a lot. Like there was a learning curve. It was still challenging. And now I play on the normal all the time, and it's even more challenging.
Mhm.
But otherwise, you don't get. What are you playing games for? If
Right.
you literally are just there for the story all the time, every time,
Go watch a movie.
thank you. Read a book. I have a great one. It's called All from Dreams by Bethany F. DeVore, available from Amazon. I'm just saying. I don't think it's a problem if a developer wants to make a game have an easy mode and it lends itself to it, fine.
Right.
But I don't think every game should have to.
Right.
And I think it's ridiculous to ask developers to always make games with an easy mode.
Yes.
I just do. I just think that's selfish and it just distracts. It is that participation trophy of gaming.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
You got it.
I was thinking it, just didn't say it.
No participation trophies for you in gaming, ladies. It was two women too. It's making us look bad. Making us look bad. I don't need the easy mode. If it's too hard of a game for me, it's too hard of a game for me. That's okay. I mean, it happens. Kingdom Come Deliverance. I'm gonna say it again. I just went no. It was so hard. It wasn't even fun.
Yeah.
But I like a challenge. I actually think in some ways I enjoyed the early Assassin's Creed games better than the later ones because they were it felt like I was playing a video game again.
Right.
Like I didn't realize how badly I missed playing just
they
flat
were-
out video game.
It'd be very unforgiving if you don't do
Oh my
hit the button at the right
gosh,
point.
I'm like one night I think I actually did cry a little.
Are you crying?
No. Yes.
I have stepped away from games
I was
because
gonna say, I turned off and came back
the
to the
rage
next
level
day.
was rising, and I didn't want to throw a controller.
Well, look, this is something I think, and we've kind of veered off, but I think it's a good discussion to add on to this. This is something that is important that kids aren't learning anymore, is the value of being able to say, I need to take a break.
Mhm.
Like, and this is something I've told my nephew. He played Fallout 4 not too long ago. That's the one big game I'll let him play. And a couple of times he was getting super frustrated. I said, you need to walk away. Like, this is where you learn, okay, I've reached my limit
Mm-hmm.
and I can do this, but I need a break from it. Like that's how you learn
Right.
to better control
Right.
that.
And sometimes that's the whole reason you're not doing it is because you've let that built
Mhm,
up and it's
exactly.
affecting your gameplay.
Yes, these are life skills, but believe it or not, games can teach you some life skills if done appropriately.
Right.
So when they're super easy and there's no challenge, you don't learn anything. So yeah, and the harder I play a game, the better I get at it, right?
Right.
And that made me realize that I am a better gamer than I give myself credit for because like the early Assassin's Creed games, which some people would say those still aren't that hard. For me, they were hard. But by the time I finished the game, it was a lot easier
Right.
because I improved.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to play Cyberpunk 2077, when I changed it from easy to normal, and normal to hard. Well, now I can't play easy or normal anymore because it's so,
So
easy.
easy.
Because
'Cause
I
you've gotten
improved my
better.
skill. Yeah, you're not going to improve. That's a life lesson in general anyway. We don't improve ourselves if we are never challenged.
Right.
So I think that's something that we're losing in the gaming world. So hopefully some developers will kind of bring that back, even if it's just mental.
Right.
You know, like the Forgotten City is one where you really have to think through it's not a shoot 'em
Right.
up, it's not a first person, it's not even a true role playing. It's really different, but your choices impact everything. And so you have to really think through, okay, well, what was the downstream effect of what I chose last time?
Mhm.
Because it's like a cycle, it's like a
Right.
time loop. What can I do different that's going to work?
Mm.
And you have to piece it all together and remember, and it's great, but it's mental.
Right.
It's a mental challenge.
Yeah.
So yeah, rabbit trail, but good discussion about video games and where the industry is now. So they just need to ask us. We're here for you,
Right.
developers.
Yes.
Feedback in real time. So okay, well, I'm going to wrap this up. You guys, I'm really interested to see your comments about which of these you've played, which ones you haven't played. What did we leave off our list that was actually an underrated but really good game? Do you think some of these were actually too popular to make our list, but we put them on there anyway? I do that. And what do you think about the gaming industry and the difficulty of the games? That's a really interesting discussion, and maybe
Yes.
that'll be a whole different episode. But leave your comments and let us know. And anything in closing? No? Okay. Well, until next time, that's it for now. Bye.
Bye.